main reason for the bridge is to make it easier for the region, to make it one region.
I don't feel like I'm traveling between two countries. The bridge has always been there when I grew up, and it easily took us over to Denmark, especially to the airport.
The biggest benefit is that you automatically get a labour market which is 3 times bigger.
There is very little feeling of a border because it's so easy.
I can travel to Croatia without showing my passport, just go by car. It's made life much easier for Europeans.
I'm gonna travel to Sweden, to my school in Lund, and it's about an hour ride. And I go here every morning. I wake up early, go to this train station, and yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
I don't feel like I'm traveling between two countries. Maybe because I'm Swedish and the bridge has always been there when I grew up, and it easily took us over to Denmark, especially to the airport. Usually you don't have to go through border or customs or barely show your passport. And maybe also because the cultures are very similar. Denmark, Sweden, it's all Scandinavia. Everything kind of feels like home.
It's a very unique opportunity in this part of Malmö, especially because it's so close to Copenhagen. So there's like this entire area here called Hyllie. It's a really interesting kind of business district. It's the closest part to Denmark in Sweden. Not physically, but mentally, and also like with the train, like it goes very fast. Mentally, there's a lot of people who commute over the bridge, for example. And if you commute over the bridge, there is very little feeling of a border because you realize it's so easy. It's not really the same as having exactly no border because there's certain things which makes it a little bit complicated. Tax authorities is a little bit more complicated because you have to deal with 2 tax authorities. So like bureaucracy is a little bit more complicated. This almost happened in 2015. When Sweden said, okay, we need to have border control. Here in Skåne, that was felt like a typical decision made in the capital. Like somebody in Stockholm who doesn't really understand how it works here has decided to implement a rule which just is really shitty from all kinds of perspectives. And so that created a lot of frustration and anger. It's better now, but it's still not as good as it was before. It isn't. I think made a lot of people aware of the benefits of actually like how good we have had it.
The main reason for the bridge is to make it easier for the region, to make it one region. Because there's two countries and 2 big towns that's so close to each other that we can make something bigger out of it, and it makes it more easier for this to connect, to happen with the bridge.
I'm very happy that we are in the EU. This bridge wouldn't be without the EU. I can travel to Croatia without showing my passport, just go by car. I'm used to when I was a kid, you had to stop at every border. You don't have to do that now. It's made life much easier for Europeans. The problem came with the refugees like 3 years ago. Then they suddenly closed the borders and you had to check passports and stuff. So I had 1 hour to Copenhagen to my work, normal. But when I was going back because of the refugees, they had to check He checked in Copenhagen, he checked in Malmö. So then I suddenly had 2 to 3 hours to get back home. And that was not very practical for me with a small daughter and stuff like that. So I took the car. So now I go by car and it's okay. There are other problems, like for me working in another country. I pay my taxes in Copenhagen, in Denmark, but I live in Sweden. I have to pay the union in Denmark, but if I lose my job, I've got to use the union in Sweden. There's a question of the pensions. When I go to pension, Sweden has 65 years, Denmark has 67. There's a question of how this is going to be actually when that time comes. Nobody knows because this is pretty new, you know.
The biggest benefit is that you automatically get a labour market which is 3 times bigger if you live in Sweden than if you just go over across the bridge. If you live in Sweden and work in Denmark, you automatically get, at the moment, a higher wage because of the currency. The Danish krona is much stronger than the Swedish krona, so that's a positive effect of the common labour market we have in the region. And if you commute from Denmark to Sweden, there are perhaps other benefits as the Swedish social security system, which sometimes are more, how do you say, generous.
It's as easy to work in a Swedish company as it is in a company inside Copenhagen. Maybe a fourth, like 25% more companies that I could look for jobs in. The language is not a terrible disadvantage. The importance is that it makes the amount of people that you can have as potential employees, that increases it by 30% for Danish companies, and for the Malmö and Swedish ones it's probably double that. But of course, if I need to change at some point, it would always be better to work as close to home as possible, just because of travel time.